Well, it's me again, and this time I'm going to talk to you a little bit about fact sheets and what the implications of fact sheets are for the N211. I just realized that I hadn't really given you much of that. Fact sheets are used interchangeably with the names brochures, pamphlets, and leaflets, but they're all slightly different, as you'll see. Okay, so let's go ahead and just have a look at what this is all about. I mean, the first question we really want to ask is, what do you know about fact sheets anyway? Is this what comes to mind? This on the side, Jetstar 787, Dreamliner, something that has color, something that has sections, something that has snippets of information, statistics, numbers, where are the people, etc. What comes to mind? Have you seen a fact sheet? Have you come across a fact sheet before? I'm sure you have, but maybe now you're purposefully thinking about a fact sheet. So what are the characteristics of a fact sheet? Well, as it says, it's one sheet. Oh, by the way, you can spell it fact and sheet, or both together, fact sheet. So it's one sheet of presentation, or a fact file, sometimes they call it that. And the data is in a format that emphasizes the key points concisely. This is something to take away. The use of tables, bullet points, or headings to enhance the message. Summaries, it could be a summary of a research document. It could be a summary of a longer document. It could be product information, answers to common questions, frequently asked questions on a particular topic, handed out to the public. It could be educational material. So there is a full range. And your N211 examiner takes advantage of that. And each examiner is different in the way they interpret what a brochure or a fact sheet is. That's why the important thing is to look at that question carefully. So what are the expectations of you in a N211 exam that asks you for a brochure or a leaflet or a fact sheet? We stick to the fact sheet because that is the catch-all, the umbrella. You've got to make the content interesting, all right? And accessible. Good use of headings, font, color, etc. Take this, for example, this fact sheet. Center for Rural Health. This is an American fact sheet, of course, because you notice from the spelling over there, okay? So you see that there is fact sheet on the actual fact sheet. There's the date. There's a logo. There's font that's quite more pronounced than the paragraph below in the initial paragraph. So it indicates it's more important, or it's the beginning. So this is important for you when you have a fact sheet. But don't use bold, capitalization, and underlining all for one heading. In fact, we don't use underlining nowadays because it implies that there's a hyperlink. So try and avoid that. Okay? So that's a take home there, just for the moment. The expectations are that you don't have to lay everything out as if it's about to go to the printers, okay? We are more concerned about the content and how you emphasize that content through the tools that you have from Word. It doesn't have to be ready to go to print. And in fact, it mustn't be. So look at this. As I've said before, this is fact sheet is here. The date, the font here on the medical dental integration in North Dakota. This is the real crux of the matter, leads you into the topic. Always have something that leads you into the topic, okay? And then, of course, the opening section. Now, this opening section is quite interesting because it immediately gives you dates and statistics. Logical layout, effective bullet points, essential data, brought to the fore, of course, straight away. And I'm going to take this up just now when I speak about bullet points and how to use them. There we go. How do I use bullet points? Well, my dear, bullet points are used to break up lists or make important statements. You're not going to have a long paragraph as a bullet point. Please don't do that. Also, don't saturate your fact sheet or any document with bullet points. Bullet points don't build argument. They don't they don't grow on you, okay, in terms of logic, but they do serve a very, very important purpose by highlighting particular important things, and yeah, I mean, they can really aid the recall, and the layout on the page can look so much better with the bullet points as well. So you don't overuse them in the same section, you keep the text short, and you have 3 or 4 bullet points per section. Remember that a fact sheet is one document, and you want your reader to be able to get the gist of it at a glance. So your headings are very important, as are your bullet points, because your eye is drawn to those points. So how do you achieve coherence? Okay, well, as with any document really, your introduction or background is essential to provide a setting, a context. Lead your reader into that. Your body will be in sections displaying a sequence of events perhaps, or a story, not in story format, but every fact sheet or every document does have a story, and it's the framework, the planning and structure that goes into it that allows us to see it, you know, extrinsically, the qualities that are on the outside before we go deep into the content. So what makes it all work though, I don't know if you can see this, but the graphics, they can enhance your content beautifully. You must make sure, of course, that they work. We will speak about that in a moment. Sorry, that was just a resident fly or muggy in the air. Your conclusion or closing paragraph is vital, because it is this that really brings the theme together, the threads of what the fact sheet is all about. And in this, you will be in a fact sheet, you will be providing additional information of what the person can do next, where they can go, how they can connect with you, etc. So that concluding paragraph is important. If you get this formula right, then all you need to worry about is the content and whether you're technically accurate or not. Okay, so how do graphics support content? The position is very important. Is it right next door to something that you've been speaking about? You want your graphic embedded in the text. You want to refer to it before and afterwards possibly, but definitely before. You don't just plonk a graphic in the middle of nowhere and think that it's going to speak to your reader by itself. The display must make sense at a glance. Look at this in front of us now. What do we have? We have patients served, and then on the left, or your right, and then we've got a table. And by the way, the table is labeled very well, and it's labeled above because we normally read tables from the top down. Family medicine. Why does this work? The sex and the age. It works because they're percentages and also in brackets the actual number. Percentages, as you know, can be very misleading until you know how many people were involved. So this is useful. 210 at the asthma clinic, they're 27 male, and in the asthma clinic, that's 69% of that population. So this is important. Notice the use of color here as well, which works well. So you don't have to do all the color, right? But what is important, I mean, if you have the time, you do. But what is important is that this content is relevant. It enhances the meaning, and also something that is graphic can bring relief to the eyes when it's a very dense document. And this goes for any document, not only a fact sheet. So what else is there to think of with regard to fact sheets? Okay, when can I get a fact sheet? Well, often it's a formal document to the public, and for this you'll need a logo or a branding of something so that you know as a reader that this has come from a credible source, or it could be endorsed by a person, a mayor or something similar. But let the examiner's notes above all guide you on whether you should put a logo there, whether you should put anything else, and your common sense, of course. is this something that would come from the municipality? If it comes from the municipality normally has its own crest or logo. The fact sheet itself, the terminology, is used for a wide range of communication. Be open to this. Everything that we're talking to you about what you might expect in the N211 exam could happen, but maybe it won't. Maybe there'll be some examiner who tries a different spin on something, and what you have to do is you have to go with that. You have to immerse yourself in what that examiner's world has produced for you in that question. But always with a fact sheet, these are principles. They deliver facts. These things you can trust. They come from a credible source, and they're not always bound by time and place. So your fact sheet you could pick up at any time and the principles will still hold, perhaps. And mostly, I would say, for a fact sheet. A brochure, less time bound. And also definitely guided by the principles. Guiding principles on the topic, I should say. So all this hype, what is the difference between a fact sheet and a brochure and a pamphlet? Well, I suppose that really does depend on your perspective. Brochures and pamphlets generally, though, they're more persuasive, more product-based, connecting to an audience, wanting you to do something. And also a brochure can be used very generally as well. But it becomes more specific, as it does in English when you add an adjective to the noun and you call it a product brochure, for example. Then it becomes maybe more persuasive or informative, depending on what your examiner wants. And then, of course, you could get an information leaflet or a pamphlet, and that could be simply something that an institution has put out there. And it would be less of a selling product, more maybe something where they want to subtly change your behavior. So these are questions you ask yourself when you get that examination paper. And the ideas come from questions. But stick to the scenario that you're given, always. In my final words, I'd like to say that you would not be required to provide the perfect layout for publishing, because content is more important. Okay? You will be awarded marks for format, but whereas you might have 6 marks or let's say 12% in a regular exam for format, it may be 16% in a fact sheet. So it does make a huge difference, but it also isn't everything. So content is best reflected with attention to how it is displayed on the page. Okay. My final parting word really here is that remember that the examiner's notes are paramount. The examiner's notes are everything. And stick to the ecosystem that has actually been crafted for you in that exam question. I think that that's it. Yes. So, thank you very much, everybody. Good luck. Any questions? You know where to find me. So that's